But let's start the program talking about energy and specifically electricity and gas. Prices for both have spiked in the past couple of weeks, partly the result of an unseasonal cold spell in eastern Australia and partly the collapse of a key gas retailer, plus also partly the shutdown of some of the country's biggest coal-fired power generators. Now, the body that represents electricity generation is the Australian Energy Council, and Sarah McNamara is its chief executive and joins me now. Sarah, many thanks for your time. I just want to go to the situation that many of your members are facing at the moment. They're the generators, whether it be gas or whether it be coal or whether it be solar or whether it be wind. The fact of the matter is it doesn't matter how the electricity gets into the system, it's got to get there. Is there enough electricity, in your opinion, to keep Australia going?
Well, I rely, in my opinion, on the words of the market operator that's making sure everything's hanging together. And for the moment, the market operator's advice to ministers when they met on Wednesday in Sydney is that the system is stable and there is sufficient supply, but there's no denying it is under pressure at the moment.
Okay, just explain the pressures that some of your members are under. Late in the week, we heard, of course, that AGL has ongoing issues with Loy Yang A. It also has issues with Bayswater. These are big coal-fired power stations. If they're offline, it's also a situation that it puts pressure on other parts of the system and even on gas prices. So just explain where you think your members are up to be able to generate sufficient electricity for the Australian market.
Well, there are quite a few challenges underway in the East Coast market at the moment, Ross. Certainly for our member businesses, they're struggling with high fuel costs. The costs of coal and gas at very high levels at the moment, thanks to the situation in the Ukraine. It's a global supply and price issue. Onshore, there are some practical and more transient issues to do with the maintenance of some units at some coal-fired plants. At the moment, there's between 20 and 30% of coal units offline in each of Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. That is troubling, but that will be overcome in the next couple of months. And then additionally, some environmental factors have been at play as well, which have made it harder to transport coal in New South Wales due to flooding. And there's been some electrical faults at some other plant as well. All of this means that coal output is not what it normally is in our system. This puts more pressure on gas, and of course gas prices are very high at the moment, which is making everything very strained in the market, along with the fact that it is a seasonally, at this time of the year, seasonally speaking, renewables tend not to have the large amounts of output that we expect through the warmer months, and so they're not able to assist in the way that they might at a different time of year.
I guess there's one thing that a lot of people won't appreciate, and that is during this time on the east coast of Australia, except maybe in Victoria, Tasmania, other parts of the country are pretty mild. They're not necessarily freezing cold as it has been. And this is generally a time when some of the generators, the coal-fired power stations, can go offline. The problem has been that the cold snap has actually coincided with the need for the gas, plus also the fact that these generators are offline. And that's the coincidence, if you like, that's caused the electricity prices and the gas prices to spike.
They're certainly key contributors. And of course, in terms of maintenance upgrades, there are two types. There's planned and unplanned. And you're absolutely right. Operators are very careful to plan maintenance outages when they know that they're less likely to need those units. We've had some unplanned outages, some safety issues where coal units have needed to shut down immediately so repair work can be done.
Okay, then there's another aspect, and that is future generation. Is there enough incentive, do you believe, for these big companies to go and create the generation that's going to be needed for rising populations, for the increased energy needs that Australia will require in the future?
I think there are very encouraging signs that we're going to have plenty of supply in the market in the future, and certainly we're seeing through both policy and investment lots of renewables coming online. The challenge, though, is that we are in the middle of this energy transition and we need to make sure we've got mechanisms available to keep encouraging that firming generation that we need to firm up the renewables as they're coming online in increasing volumes. And that's why ministers have directed the Energy Security Board to work with industry, as it's doing at the moment, on the technical detail of what's known as a capacity mechanism, which would enable generation to be paid to be made available to come online when it has capacity, rather than just paid when it produces energy.
And of course, the important part about that capacity generation is it's agnostic. It doesn't matter whether it's wind or solar, whether it's pumped hydro, or whether it is in fact coal-fired power stations. It's about making certain that when Australia needs the electricity, when it needs the gas, that it's actually there for consumers.
We certainly see a technology neutral capacity mechanism as desirable, and also one that encourages new forms of technology. We're going to make use of the coal and gas-fired plant we have in the system at the moment, and we want them working to their most useful, the most useful extent they can. But at the same time, we are in the middle of an energy transition to net zero by 2050. We want to keep bringing emissions down, so we want to keep encouraging these new renewable technologies into the market as well.
Yeah, it's all about the technology and the timing. There's no doubt about it. Sarah McNamara from the Australian Energy Council, good to have you on the program today.
Thank you.